Okay, so I was wrong. Xana's door wasn't locked. This makes even less sense now. Hey guys, this is Jules with True Crime Reactions. Before we get into the video information, I just want to let you guys know that I was on a live today with Crime, Lines, and Lies with the amazing Brooks. It was a really good show. I really like her, so it was really great getting on there today to be able to talk to her. I'm going to have a link for that in the description box, so you guys go over there and take a look. Now, Daniel with Drunk Turkey, they did a live last night discussing the 911 call. Daniel actually emailed me wanting me to be on the live last night, but Fridays is pretty much the night that I do stuff with my kids. And we actually had stuff planned for this morning, but I had already rescheduled all that for Friday since I was doing the live with Brooks. So I will be probably doing a live with the guys probably sometime in the next week or so. From what Daniel stated, I think he's going to reach out and try to schedule something with me. And just so everyone does understand that I didn't have any sort of animosity towards Daniel, even though I know I come off pretty abrasive whenever I'm passionate and having questions about things. And he seems to understand that because we have had conversations whenever he's hopped up on Dago's Live. He's been on there a couple of times and we've gone back and forth with a couple of things with the case. So whenever I had issues with that whole interview situation, it was not towards Daniel himself. I understand he was just reiterating information, but there was some stuff I wish would have been re-talked about, but it seems those things are being talked about now. And that's what needs to happen because a lot of this stuff isn't making any sense. Now, yesterday, whenever I was discussing this 911 call and the information that I had heard from Daniel, this was apparently stuff that they had talked about on their channel before. Now, when they did the live last night, they clarified a lot more stuff. And I'm more confused because I was wrong about the door being locked. And the reason I'm more confused is for the same exact reasons why I thought the door had to have been locked from the details I was hearing. Because to me, and he's not 6'5", okay, that was an exaggeration, but to me, if Ethan's body had been blocking the door, two grown-ass women could have been able to push that door open. Not only that, but you know that there's two other grown-ass women upstairs. And instead of going upstairs to ask the other two women upstairs so that there's 4 grown adults pushing on this door, you call someone to come over to help you with the door. That's really weird to me. That doesn't make logical sense to me. If you have the capability of just running upstairs and being back downstairs with 2 more people to help you in like 5 seconds, why would you in turn call someone else and have to wait minutes and minutes for that person to get there? That doesn't make sense. That doesn't make sense. Now I'm going to read to you the statement that apparently Christy made, or at least Daniel's interpretation of the statement that Christy made when they discussed this, because I listened to it a few times and wrote it down verbatim. And the link for Daniel's live will also be in the description so that you guys can go and listen to this yourselves if you hadn't already. The girls called him. He went over. He couldn't get through the door because Ethan's body was blocking the door. He was able to push open the door enough to peer in and saw what he saw. He said, "Get the F out," and they called 911 immediately. I have a lot of problems with this because for the exact same reason why I don't understand how 2 grown-ass women couldn't push open a door, I don't understand why this statement makes it seem as if even Hunter could not get through the door enough to open it. He could only open it enough to peer in, see the scene, and then call for 911 to be called. So we've got a very athletic college male, 2 healthy grown adult women, and all 3 of these people we're being told couldn't push the door open all the way, that it was only opened up enough to be able to peer inside. So it wasn't locked. He didn't have to break through the door. Ethan's body was blocking it with so much force that 3 grown adults, that includes a very athletic young man, couldn't open the door all the way. That doesn't make logical sense to me. And it also doesn't make any logical sense to me that a body could have been up against the door if the person would have had to have left the room after committing the crime. And the way that Dylan in the PCA is describing the person in black walking past her door, the direction the person was going is the reason why the police believe that this person left out the backsliding glass. But a body cannot be propped up against a door that has to be reopened in order for the person to leave. So there's 2 scenarios here. Either the bodies were put that way and whoever did this would have had to have gone out the window, which doesn't make any sense because of what Dylan states about the direction the person she saw was going. Or the door was closed and Dylan saw what she saw and Ethan wasn't gone. And after the door was closed, he moved towards the door, but he didn't make it enough to be able to open it. That's a very real possibility here. And that brings me back to the anger that I felt a long time ago in this case about the 8-hour delay in the 911 call. And that very thing, that very possible scenario, could be the reason why in the PCA we are seeing that there's a second autopsy for Ethan. And if there was a possibility that if the roommates knew something was going on because Dylan heard whimpers and crying and something on their phones puts the end time of this incident at 4:25, which is 5 minutes after the vehicle leaves the neighborhood, there's a great possibility that if Dylan would have called 911, like I've mentioned before, there's a possibility someone could have been saved. But I don't see any other plausible explanation for how a body could be propped up against a door and then the way of travel that we are hearing the person in black left the house. That's really the only way that makes any sense. So now I'm more angry than I already was about this case. And it's not making any sense to me. It's not making any sense to me this situation either. Because like I said, I don't understand how not only 2 grown people, but 2 grown people plus a huge male college man couldn't open a door enough all the way. I mean, at that point, if it had been a full 8 hours, then rigor would have set in and the body might have been a little bit more difficult to move, but not impossible to push a door open with 3 adults. So the whole peeping through just enough to see what they saw and then calling 911 thing doesn't add up to me. It just doesn't. And again, this isn't to say that Christy Consalvis has it wrong. She is simply reiterating what she's been told specifically by Hunter Johnson. I don't even know. I'm really aggravated with this information. And this is something else that I think a lot of people aren't really getting. And I've said this a couple of times. There is a great possibility that the delay in calling 911, as suspicious as it is, could literally have nothing to do with the murders themselves. See, a lot of people want to see a connection between one of their surviving roommates and our suspect. And whenever he claims that Bethany has exculpatory evidence, you're expecting for there to be a connection. But I guess maybe that doesn't even have to be true. The only thing that needs to be true is that the suspect, for some reason, would know that there is something else that Bethany knows. But the real question is what it is. And I think if we could for sure separate the two, then maybe this wouldn't be such an emotional roller coaster to think about. I mean, it sucks. It's horrible. And like I've said before, whoever did do this, be it Brian or not, this being a death penalty case, that's easy punishment to me for someone who's capable of something like this. But it's just the situation with the 911 call. I don't know. Especially with the time frame that we're getting. Like, they're calling Hunter Johnson because they can't get the door open, but there's no blood leading upstairs to make them believe that there's a problem upstairs too. Because, I mean, we knew that they summoned friends over. But anyone who was just thinking that it was a possibility that the girls just like woke up to a bloody crime scene, them calling friends over could have been just as innocent as that. They woke up, saw blood, freaked the hell out, called people over. But you're calling someone over for a door you can't get open, has nothing to do with the people upstairs. It's almost like it's already almost noon if this story is true. Because they're claiming that he got there a handful of minutes before 911 was called. So it's daylight. You know, even if your lights aren't on, you have the daylight window coming through. There's lots of windows in that 3-story house. And we're hearing that a door was open, which we'll discuss the door situation in another video because it's related to another subject of this. But even with the lights off, you've got light coming in that house. And there's no blood leading upstairs or anywhere that makes you more worried about anything other than the fact that you can't get a door open. The possibility of the reason why he was up against the door, I can imagine that something like that would be a reason why the family doesn't want anything to do with the trial. I can understand that if that ends up being the case. But if there's any other possibility that you guys can come up with for her apparently seeing someone going in that direction, but then a body being propped up after a door was closed, I mean, and maybe not even propped up, but up against the door. The body could not have been up against the door enough for it to be unable to be opened by 3 people all the way, with that door then having to be opened for that person to have then left the room to follow that track that Dylan gave the cops. But that's if this story is true. Okay. See y'all.